Ladies and gentlemen, welcome into my official college football week number 2 predictions. This is where I go through every single ranked game and give a score prediction beginning with the noon Eastern time window. And it's the upstart Youngstown State, the FCS team, traveling to Columbus. This is Ohio State's first FCS opponent since 2013. They beat Florida A&M 76-0, and there is no spread in this game. Personally, I'm going to go 77-7. I don't think the Buckeyes will drop an 80 burger here. I would like to see Devin Brown start, but when the spread does get released, when it's an FBS versus an FCS, the spread doesn't get released until the morning of the game. Whenever that spread gets released, I would really consider taking Ohio State to cover whatever the number is. It's probably going to be like minus 52 or something, because the Buckeyes are going to throw a lot. They want to get McCord game reps. They want to get Brown game reps. I would take Ohio State to cover pretty much no matter what. It's going to be a complete mismatch, obviously. Another big noon game for Colorado, but Fox is just milking those views, aren't they? They are taking on Nebraska, and if I have this right, this game is a 10 a.m. starts. What are we doing here, guys? What are we doing? This is the Mountain Time Zone. Colorado, Boulder, Colorado, noon Eastern. Oh my goodness. But either way, this is going to be a very hard game to predict. Colorado sitting minus 3.5. Nebraska was I think -1. And then Colorado, of course, after their massive win over TCU. I'm going to go Colorado wins this game 34-31. I guess Nebraska would cover. Nebraska always plays close games, and it's not like Colorado has this crazy talent advantage. I do think there will be a lot of people that start fading Colorado because so much of the public is on them. Colorado certainly has talented players, but they have literally zero depth. They can win this game against a Nebraska team. Remember, Nebraska almost beat Minnesota, though. So it's not like Nebraska's this terrible team. I wouldn't think, they're going to get trounced in this game. But it is, when it comes to picking a spread, very hard. I think Colorado wins by 3, and Nebraska barely covers there. Another noon game, it is Ball State traveling to Georgia. So Georgia continues their tour of facing no ones. You've got Georgia sitting minus 42. I've got it at 38-10. It always seems like Georgia randomly struggles with one of these teams, like last year they did early in the season. Maybe they do again, breaking in Carson Beck. He didn't look anything earth-shattering in week 1 against UT Martin. And I'll say Ball State covers the 42-point spread there. Another noon game. This is another FCS game on Peacock. It is Penn State coming off their big win against West Virginia. They will be taking on Delaware. Yes, Delaware, the same team. I think they upset some. Oh, no, they didn't upset anyone. They were in the NCAA tournament, though. And I'm going to say 56-3. The spread in this game has not been released either. This is a pretty big one. It is Notre Dame traveling to NC State. So Notre Dame right now sitting 2-0 against the spread. They've looked phenomenal. NC State, they did beat UConn, but it was kind of a boring game. They didn't cover. I think this is a law of averages game. So right now you've got, Notre Dame minus 7.5. That's a good number for NC State. And I'm guessing it's going to be pretty close. Notre Dame will win. But I do think NC State being at home in a big spot, in the spotlight, they will keep this game close there. Next, you've got Utah traveling to Baylor. So this is an 11 a.m. Central start time. Both of these teams possibly starting backup quarterbacks. Baylor coming off that terrible loss to Texas State. Is Cam Rising playing in this game? Who knows? Right now, Utah sitting minus 7. You think of the situation right now with Baylor. The quarterback's out. Everyone's going to be on Utah, but that's why I'm actually on Baylor, and I think they keep this game close. Utah will win by 3, but it's just a weird game. Again, 11 a.m. Central, morning start time. It'll be a good one. Utah wins, but it'll be closer. The public will be on Utah minus 7. Baylor will end up covering there. Next, we do have Troy traveling to Kansas State. So Kansas State is a team that I really do not believe in this year, and I am going with a decently sized upset. Troy wins this football game 27-24 in an upset. Everyone loves the under in this game. It should be, actually, I think I've The over-under might be 48. I don't know. But either way, Troy plus the 15.5. You love it. Even though Troy didn't look that good week one, I'm just not buying this Kansas State football team. Something is off about them. And this is just a perfect upset scenario, I think, for a team like Troy. I've got them winning 27-24. Next, we've got Charleston Southern traveling to Clemson in a weird 2:15 game. And of course, Clemson coming off that terrible loss to Duke. They will rebound against an FCS team. Charleston Southern almost lost to like North Ridgeville or something, or North Greenville. I mean, they're terrible, unfortunately. So I have Clemson winning this game very easily. But I will say, when the spread gets released, probably on Saturday morning, I would take the under. This is going to be just a miserable game. It's going to be weird at 2:15. Neither of these teams are going to want to play, but Clemson, it's an FCS team. You got to get back on track. Moving to the 3:30 window, it is Michigan sitting minus 36, taking on UNLV. UNLV beating Bryant in week one. Michigan not covering in week one. I think this is a law of averages game. Michigan will cover this week. They will win 52-10. Little lethargic, they handled their business against East Carolina, but they will drop a 50 burger against a bad UNLV team and win easily. This is a huge game here. Ole Miss taking on Tulane, ranked versus ranked. Ole Miss coming off that 70 burger. Tulane with a very impressive week one showing, trouncing South Alabama. Tulane is at home. Ole Miss sitting -7, and I just cannot understand this line. Well, I guess I can kind of understand it because Ole Miss is more talented, but Tulane at home +7, I will take that. I'm guessing this is going to be a relatively close game. Tulane's quarterback did something crazy last week where he was 14 of 15 for like 300 yards and 5 touchdowns. That should be a good one. Now we've got Texas A&M traveling to Hard Rock Stadium. This is a very hard game for me to predict because I think both of these teams are underrated. But at this point with Texas A&M, it's put up or shut up. They've got the young quarterback. I will take them to barely cover in this one. They're -4. The FPI actually gives Miami a 53% chance. So if you believe in analytics, there's some great value on Miami at home plus the 4. Two underrated teams. A&M's got to do something this year. They've got too much talent. Evan Stewart, the receiver, had a big game week one. Their young quarterback played well. We will admit it is against, New Mexico, but still we'll go ahead and take A&M in maybe a little bit of a lower scoring game there. Speaking of lower scoring, we've got Iowa and Iowa State. We need to disband this rivalry. It's just so tough to watch these games. I mean, what's the over-under in this? 25, I think it was released. Honestly, I don't know. I'm just kidding, but Iowa sitting -4. Iowa State given a 57% chance to win, so apparently there's value on Iowa State at home. But I like Iowa. They're a good team. They're going to win this game. They're just more talented than Iowa State. And Iowa, we all know they're not great on offense, but they did show at least some signs of improvement in that week one game against Utah State. They scored 14 points in the first quarter, then they kind of got shut out. But still, Iowa also didn't cover the spread in week one, so they're 0-1 against the spread. That means they're due to cover, and they're going to win this game. It's going to be a workman effort for Iowa in week two. Moving to a 5 o'clock game, kind of a random start time it is Tulsa traveling to Washington. Washington sitting -34. That's a crazy number against a good Tulsa team. You can't be giving me that many points there. I'll take Tulsa plus the 34. But Washington, the hype is real. The huge week one win against Boise State. They'll drop another 50 burger, but Tulsa will cover in that one. Another 5 o'clock game. It is Austin Peay, the FCS team, traveling to Tennessee. Obviously, a line on that game not released, and I do think Tennessee, they're going to run up the score once again, drop a 70 burger. Your traditional 73-14 FCS type game there. 5:15 game, it is Appalachian State traveling to North Carolina, so you might be a little bit surprised by this spread. North Carolina sitting -18. This year, apparently, Appalachian State is just not good. But I am going to say it's a closer game because I do not trust North Carolina. I'll take Appalachian State plus the 18. They've been known to upset teams, and I'm not going to overreact to North Carolina's week one win. I've been saying this team, it's really Drake May and nothing else. And I still believe that. So I'm guessing Appalachian State keeps this close. North Carolina 1-0 against the spread. That means they're due for a loss, and they're going to move to 1-1 against the spread with that one. Moving on here, it's a 6 o'clock game. It is SMU taking on Oklahoma. What a good early season game this is with SMU, the young star quarterback Preston Stone. You've got Oklahoma, Dylan Gabriel, the veteran presence, absolutely destroying Arkansas State 73-0. Oklahoma sitting minus 16.5. I will take SMU to cover. I really don't feel confident about it because I do really like Oklahoma. We just don't know enough about either of these two teams, honestly. I'll say Oklahoma wins a higher scoring game. The over-under in this game is probably going to be around 70. It should be a shootout. We've got a 6 o'clock game here. It is Lafayette taking on Duke University after their huge Monday night college football win against Clemson, and obviously an FCS team. You're going to have Duke and Riley Leonard win this game very easily. Moving on to the 7 o'clock window, we've got Texas and Alabama, one of the big matchups of the weekend. This game happened last year in Texas and Alabama. They were like 20-point favorites. They barely won with Bryce Young and Will Anderson. Right now they're sitting minus 7. And I think Alabama this week really announces themselves as a national title favorite, or at least heavy contender. Jalen Milroe looked really good week 1 as a dual threat. Alabama's going to have a really good rushing attack. And I just don't understand. I really don't understand what people see in Texas. And this year it seems to be even different, where people are like, oh, every year, people say Texas isn't back, but this is the year they're actually back. Why? Why is I'm not buying this Texas team. They lose Bijan Robinson. They return everyone else, I guess, but just the talent, it just doesn't do it for me. Quinn Ewers is decent, I guess. I just think Alabama really announces themselves and wins this game easily. Another 7 o'clock game. It is Oregon traveling to Texas Tech. So now we're getting some really good games this week. There's a lot of good games with this. And Oregon sitting minus 6.5. Texas Tech, the demoralizing Week 1 loss against Wyoming on the road. I love Texas Tech to keep this game close. Oregon's a really fun team. It's going to be a higher scoring game, but Texas Tech, don't overreact to the Week 1 performance. They're at home. It's a hostile environment. Plus 6.5 is an amazing value number. I've seen some sports books that have them plus 7. I'm going to say Oregon wins this game, but Texas Tech does cover at home in a raucous environment. Next, we've got Grambling taking on LSU. LSU, their home opener. Right now, this is an FCS versus FBS, so there is no spread. And I do think Grambling possibly could get a safety late in this game, the final score being 66-5. LSU coming off that bad loss to Florida State. Next, we've got Wisconsin traveling to Washington State. This is the second half of a home-and-home that Washington State surprisingly upset Wisconsin last year in Camp Randall. So Wisconsin trying to get some revenge. They are ranked coming into this game, and I do think this is going to be a relatively close game. I like the value in Washington State plus the 6.5 based on what I saw Week 1 out of Tanner Mordecai for Wisconsin. He didn't look that great. Washington State still has Cameron Ward, and they're also at home. So I think lower scoring, good value on Washington State to cover the 6.5, but Wisconsin does win. Next, we've got Southern Miss traveling to Florida State. Kind of a weird start time for this one. This game's starting at 8:30 Eastern time, which is, just weird considering it's not a very good game. I don't know why they wouldn't just start this game at 7 or 7:30. FSU sitting minus 30.5 in this one, coming off that crazy big win. I'm expecting Jordan Travis really to, solidify himself as a top Heisman contender, probably 4 or 5 total touchdowns. They'll win this game very easily against Southern Miss. Will they cover the 30.5? I don't know. I would not recommend betting it because it could be one of those things where a late touchdown causes them to not cover. A 9 o'clock game, we've got Oregon State breaking in their new stadium renovation versus UC Davis, the FCS team. Oregon State coming off that great win against San Jose State on the road. And I've got kind of a weird score because it seems like whenever UC Davis faces an FBS team, it's a weird score. So I'm going to go 49-8. There might not even be that many points. It might be like 42-8 or something like that. And then the final game or ranked game of the week, it is a 10:30 at night game. My goodness, it is Stanford traveling to USC, LA Memorial Stadium, USC sitting minus 29.5. I'm just obviously going to pick USC here, but I think Stanford covers. 29.5, that's a lot. Stanford against a bad USC defense, score a few touchdowns, maybe get one turnover. USC's coming off a big win against Nevada. Maybe Stanford's able to cover. They did beat Hawaii in week 1. But guys, that is going to do it for my week number 2 college football picks and predictions. Make sure you follow me on X. Link to that's always in the description.